on reasons why we don't hear from people. And so I had shared, so as you know, I got baptized, whoop, 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 okay, as a recommitment. And so recently, I just shared like how, if you don't know, is I went through a lot of depression because I went through a lot of traumas, growing up. And one of them was always trying to figure out what my purpose was. I always felt purposeless, in a sense where I always felt like um, I didn't belong in this world. And so it came to a point, fast forward, where I was feeling so purposeless to the point where I felt like, okay, God, what's next? Because I'm not feeling like it's worth like being in this world. And I got an idea one day. It was obviously not from God. I just want to be clear. And it was saying, why don't you create a life and death list? At the time, I didn't call it that. It was more so pros and cons to living in this life. But when I went to my pastor and I shared that with him, and I was like, what do you think about this? Like doing a pros and cons of based on living here and not living here. One of the things he said was he's like, oh, that's a life and death list. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that was deep. And so I didn't end up doing it. And I just kept on with the motions. I kept on with the motions of just doing life and putting it on the shelf. I left it on the shelf and I was like, okay, so if I can figure out at this point a little bit of life, then I won't do it, basically. And so I kept at it, and eventually I did figure out what my mission was, right? Which was to empower women and impact them as I can. And so throughout that journey, I was looking to make very valuable friendships. I was looking to make friendships that were long lasting because growing up, I would say a part of it was me. Not all of it was me, but I would take responsibility and say truly that I did not um, keep friendships because there was a lot of trust issues. I was used to people abandoning me. I was used to people choosing people over me, if that makes sense. I was used to being not the chosen one, not the special one, not the popular one. I was always felt like I was that like, the last goat to be chosen, that black sheep. And so I struggled a lot with friendships. I struggled a lot with friendships where people were just using me and people would tell me that, but I didn't see it because I was trying so much to I was trying so much to be accepted by friends, that I didn't know myself at the time. I didn't understand my worth. And so I tried so much, and there was a other side of me where I always made assumptions about friends, where I was like, they must not like me. I must not be very likable. And it was only down years down the line where I started to meet very genuine people where they'll be like, I actually like your personality. You have awesome personality. And that's when I was like, oh, so I am a likable person. And I'm telling you this because a couple months ago, I had met a friend and a new person, and we connected over dinner. I thought we had an awesome dinner, and we were planning more and more stuff. And after that, I didn't hear from her. So I remember we came out the restaurant. I was talking and enjoying myself, and hey in the gym. And I remember like it was just cut short. And I was like, okay, maybe she doesn't like me. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I was like, maybe she doesn't like me. Like the insecurities were keeping in again. And so we did talk here and there, on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and we kept the communication going. But I just left it as maybe she didn't like me. So I'm not going to pursue the friendship if she doesn't want to be friends with me. And so what ended up happening was today she sent me a message, and it was so heart wrenching. I had to jump on here and share with you guys because I thought it was so real. And um, so basically, she saw a birthday post because my birthday was on Saturday, and I shared how the more I get closer to God, the sweeter my life is. Like I love my friends, I'm loving my life. Like I said I was always depressed around my birthday. Every year since I was 14, okay, I'm now 33, don't tell anyone, but I'm now 33. And every year I used to always go through a depression because a few months before that, my birthday, that's when my grandfather died. And he was the only person that I felt that truly loved me, that wasn't traumatic, and he would always protect me. And Um, it's I guess over the years it just created a rift where I no longer wanted to celebrate my birthday, and so I shared all those things and how God just changed me. Like literally, I came to my birthday, guys, on a Saturday, and I was like, wait, I'm not depressed. And what was crazy is I didn't even ask for that, right? I was just like, God, heal me. Like, let me get closer to God, and help me with my relationship. And what happened was she saw that post, and this is a woman that I would say she's probably not Christian, but it doesn't matter. And she sent me like a 3 minute voice message, and it was so touching. I almost wanted to cry. And she was like, Nikia, I went through years of depression, feeling abandoned, feeling that people had better choices than me, and people didn't want to be friends with me. So she was like, I struggled a lot with long lasting friendships. And in my head, I was like, oh my gosh. And here was I thinking, she didn't want to be my friend, but really she was just going through some type of trauma and she's trying to get over it. And I made the connection and I was like, okay, that's why she didn't continue with the friendship, because it was like an insecurity. And she was like, thank you for sharing that, because we think that we're going alone. And she was like, I'm so happy you're still here and you're still alive. And I think that was so touching. And it made me think, you see, like, it's so important that you don't make the assumption that people don't like you when friendships don't last as long, or when relationships don't progress, or you don't hear from people. And I thought back to a few friendships that I've had where it just didn't, where I wouldn't hear from the person, and then I would just like randomly reach out, and then they would end up telling me, yeah, I was depressed and all this stuff. And it just made me think like, wow, like it's I have to say it again, it's so important not to make assumptions that people don't like you, because that's really not the truth. And if people don't really like you, they won't be responding to your message and talking to you, right? It's like you just don't know what people are going through. And I remember when we were having our conversations, like we were just talking about regular dating and, like what girls will talk about, like marriage. We're just talking about, I would say, surface level things. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much we had in common, right? Because I'm like, this was more deeper, but the reality is, in your first conversation, you're not going to go that deep, right? But I think it's because she saw how vulnerable I was on social media, on my social media post, that she was like, whoa. And so I'm here to tell you that don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to tell people your story. Don't be afraid to tell people what you struggle with. That can be sometimes one of the best things you ever do, because you'll find that a lot of people will relate to you. You'll find out a lot of people are going through the same things. There may be someone out there that went through it that can help you. Or there may be someone out there that needs to hear that you went through the same thing, right? I went through many years of depression, and it took years to get over it. And then one of the things I did, and I might as well just share it, is when I was talking to my therapist, she gave so much great tips. And one of her things was, find, like, she was like, find 5 things. She was like, make a list. She made me a graph, and she's like, put these 5 things that you're going to do every day. And so I think one of it was dancing. One of it was, I liked listening to sermons and stuff, like inspiring sermons and motivational talks. One of it, she told me to add, like, looking into the sun. So, like, even if it's for, like, 5 minutes, she's like, you would go to a window or you go outside and just stand there and let the light hit your face. She's like, it was something about vitamin D, and apparently it helps you. And then, I forgot what the fourth, oh, the fourth one was dancing. I love salsa dancing. So that one was another one. And then the fifth one, I think, was just exercising in general. And I remember doing those things, like, every day. And it was very hard because I was suffering. Actually, I was basically, so there's severe and extreme. Like, I was like severe depression. So I was almost at like the highest type of depression. Um, and what happened is I ended up doing it for a good few months. I think it was like 2 months or so. And then gradually I started to get better. Like, I went from feeling like a low 2 to feeling like a 7 or 8. And I remember she looked at me and she's like, what did you do differently? Because she's like, I've had many clients go through depression and they don't get out of it. And I told her, I literally did everything you told me. I also, to be fair, I did a lot of affirmations as well. Like, just talking, imparting to myself telling myself who I am, reminding myself who I am. And also it was a lot of also reading the word, right? Like using the word as decoration. I recommend even people who are not Christians to read those words of decoration, because like positive is positive at the end of the day. If it helps you, it doesn't matter where it's from. If it's something that helps you and lifts you up, you should be reading it over your life. And so one of the scriptures was Psalms 1 to 6, and then that was talking about God protecting you. He's your shepherd, and he handles all your needs. And I would say those things every day. I would go out for walks, and I would say it every day. And there was one day where I remember I was walking, and all of a sudden I had this revelation. I was like, wow, this is everything that God has created. Like everything, the very ground you walk on, the houses you walk on. And I'm like, he loved the world so much that he's like, he gave someone a desire, a purpose, a love for something, so they can create those houses. The very thing that you walk on. And I don't know, it just changed my mindset. Once I started just like seeing it from a different light, and I was like, this is very interesting. Um, and so once I got to understand that, I was like, okay, so I can depend on God for the very needs that I need. I could depend on Him to help me in any way that I can. I could depend on Him to help me with my depression. I could depend on Him to help me make friends. Let me tell you, okay, is on my birthday, there was a lot of people that canceled. I would say a good 4 people. I invited about 10 people or so, and yeah, a good 4 people canceled. It ended up being 6 people at the dinner, and I have to admit, whenever someone would message me saying, "Oh, they can't come," girl, I could feel like the rejection and abandonment happening. And I had to rationalize and remember, like, hey, like, people are getting sick. This could be actually real. But there was a part of me that was like, man, they must not be my friends. They must not like me. But I remember I had to push that aside. And there was an immediate thought where something was like, focus on the people who are coming. Because you still have 6, it ended up being like 7 by the time we went to karaoke. But they're like, you still have 6 people coming. Those are people that still care about you. And you know what? It's so easy to go to the negative. It's so easy to automatically think, no, they must not like me. They're making excuses of not to come. They're faking it. You know what I mean? Let's be real, right? I had people saying, oh, I twisted my ankle or I don't feel well. And there was a part of me that was like, man, they must be faking it and not telling the truth. But then when you think of it from a compassionate side, you're like, nah. Like, when you think of it from another end, you're like, no, like, let's be realistic. Like, if they want to come, they will come. And if they don't want to come because of them not feeling well, I have to be okay with that. And do you know, I ended up having a good birthday party? I ended up meeting a girl at a Shea workshop. And I knew her for maybe a day. And I just liked her and I invited her to my party. And I remember she offered to do my makeup on that day. And there was a part of me that didn't want to receive it. Because, like, you're so used to not having long lasting friends. You're so used to having friends that go in and out your life. So you build this wall. And with the day of my birthday, I didn't want to intrude. So I was planning to just go straight to the restaurant. And she reminded me again. And she was like, hey, like, come to my place. I'm going to do your makeup. And I thought about it. I went back and forth. And I'm like, you know what? Let's receive it. It's my birthday. And I ended up going, she did my makeup, girls. She did that glow up. Like, it was so nice. I got so many compliments. And I was like, wow, like, is this how it feels to be loved? Is this how it feels to receive when someone offers you something? I felt like a little princess, right? And so I want to share that because there's friends out there. There's people out there that want to be your friend. There's people out there that want to lift you up. There's people out there that want to empower you. Um, I want to share another scenario. See, I have so many examples. Even these are all recent. Um, so I recently shared with my pastor how, one of my videos went viral about, being single and enjoying it. I'm sure that's how most of you came. And she said it to the whole church. And she's like, yeah, Nakia did well. And like, a parent will usually tell you about little wins. Like, this is a small win, right? And she was like telling the whole church. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I want to go underneath a rock. I'm like, it's not that serious. Like, I'm growing, whatever. And eventually, I was okay with it at first. And then as I went home, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to tell her about my wins anymore. And I remember going to one of the mentors in church and like a friend, and I told her about it. And you know what she said to me that really got me? She was like, Nikia, you're just not used to people being in your corner. I was like, whoa, that hit me. And she's like, you're not used to people supporting you like that, like being so nice and kind to you. And I really thought about it because for me, I was like, yeah, but I'm not perfect. So her sharing my win is showing like to people that I'm this perfect person and like I have it all figured out when in fact I'm always like getting better. I'm always improving myself. And so that really hit home for me because how many times do we not accept a compliment because we feel like, oh, like is there something behind it when someone is giving us a nice compliment and it's not something negative because you're so used to people being negative, right? And when she said that, and she was like, "You're just used to people," she was like, "This is healthy." Because that's how family, she put in quotation, because church family. She was like, that's how families should be. Is they should be supportive and they should be encouraging. And they should be lifting you up. And I think that was just powerful. So I just wanted to share this. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Yes, I'm taking it all in. And I want to share because maybe there's other people who are going through something like this where they have struggled with that too, right? And they've struggled with that. And I find a lot of women do because we're naturally givers. We're naturally nurturers, right? We just want to give, 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 but when it comes to receiving, it gets so hard. I remember, like probably in March, I had a friendship that I really cherished, and I have to admit, with that friendship, I'm telling you guys all my vulnerabilities right now. But I feel like it has to be. I have to be real. And I haven't shared this with anyone, so I'm sharing it with you guys. And I remember this friend. So what happened was, at the time I was going through things. I was just going through life, and she was trying to get close to me, but every time I would, push her away, and I think I got to a point where she couldn't take it anymore. So I noticed she like gradually started to pull away. And there was one day where I went to a festival in the summer, and I noticed that we would give each other hugs, but she was different. And I remember crying on that day. And finally, it was her birthday in March, and then I finally approached her. I had the guts, and I was like, "Hey, I noticed that you don't talk to me," and I was very upfront, nothing rude, right? Because I still want her to be a friend. Sometimes when you want to talk to people, it's very important to let go of your ego and your pride. Especially if you want something that benefits your life, it's important to put down your ego. So that when you show your vulnerabilities, put down those walls. And so I put down those walls for her, and she came back and she was like, Nikia, the more I got closer to you, it always pushed me away. And it ended up being where I said, hey, I'm so sorry. I would love to start over if you give me a chance. Um, and do you know she ended up being one of the best friendships ever? She ended up opening my eyes. I didn't realize I had walls because at the time I was just going through things. But you don't realize like sometimes we put walls for ourselves and it prevents us from having the type of friendships that we want. Um, and yeah, do you know that she was one of those people where she had a cough? I told her, I was like, hey, I'll bring halls for you if you're really sick. You don't need to come to my birthday. She wasn't dying sick though, by the way, right? So no one's catching anything. But she did have like, losing her voice type thing. And she showed up at my birthday and I was shocked. She showed up at the karaoke and I was like, what? And so we came a long way. We started meeting every month, doing little dinners. Like we have our own thing going. But I managed to save that friendship because I put my ego aside. I put my pride aside. And I was like, listen, like I really want this friendship. Like sometimes you have to fight for what you want. I think sometimes we can let our insecurities get in the way and we forget that we also can do mistakes. We also can fall short in friendships, relationships, right? Whatever you want to call it, we can fall short. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to put yourself out there and fight for the very thing that you want. I think that nowadays friendships, I don't want to say they're hard, but friendships, finding really good friendships can be a little bit harder. And I think we take it for granted and we think it should be easy when in fact, It's not meant to be. It's something so good is not meant to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. We always say that in business, right? When business gets very hard and you're trying to get clients, one of the biggest things you'll hear people say is that if it was easy, everyone will do it. And the same with friendship. If it was easy, everyone would do it. You're coming from different backgrounds. You're coming from different places in life, different types of traumas, and it's like you have to join the two together and figure out how you guys can, you know, relate to each other and partner with each other. And it almost sounds like a relationship, right? A dating relationship, but it's not. But in a sense, it is, right? Because it's two different personalities. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. And yes, I would say I've been taking it in. And I don't know, that friend, when she messaged me today, it really touched me. And I was like, wow, like imagine if I just blocked her and was like, well, she's not my friend, and just crossed her out. Like I would have missed out on hearing how that sharing my transformation like impacted her. You don't know who you can impact today. Just the reminder is just to be vulnerable. And remember to share your truths. Don't be afraid to share the things that you're going through. Don't be afraid to share it. There's someone else that needs to hear it. But yeah, that's, unless you guys have anything else to say. That's it for now. And we'll see you soon. Bye.